there's two additional ones down there, so.
So it'll be public comment, we'll just.
We cornered her next.
Yeah, we
That was our first mistake.
Yes. I blame myself.
really stupid ideas.
Oh, there's.
Yeah. Here's this.
Hmm.
Before we start, I thought it was just the microphone. No. Because what really happens is, right. People that like I'm not giving you my screen. Don't turn your head away from the microphone.
Do we want this mic for public comment?
Everybody ready?
Recording in progress.
I'd like to call this meeting to order for Thursday, April 2nd at 6. Sorry.
We're a month behind.
I looked right at it and said it.
Yeah.
For Thursday, May 2nd, 2024 at 6:02. Can I get roll call, please?
Trustee Nyberg,
Here.
Trustee Hartz, Trustee Moreland, Trustee McLaurin, Trustee Snooks, Trustee Katsos, and Mayor Ah.
Here. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any conflicts of interest on the board?
Me with the conditional award construction of James Corporation, can't be a part of that. I guess the special use paths. Use path in general.
Okay. Next is general public input. Does anyone have anything on they would like to say other than what's on the agenda? I can't see anybody, so I'll just point. And if you could state your name and address, please, before you start, and stand up, I guess, because we don't have a podium.
My name is Kenzie Moreland. My address is actually in San Diego. I drove all the way here to be with you today. I'm the daughter of Ed Moreland, who served on this board for decades, and Jackie Moreland, who has been a community member here in Bayfield for decades as well. I work for the mayor of San Diego, so I'm very grateful for your service, Mr. Mayor and board. Thank you for your public service. It's invaluable, and what you do really matters. Here for support of a proclamation request that I've submitted to Mr. Mayor. Jackie is a beacon of compassion and innovation in Bayfield, Colorado. She has done a whole list of things that I have submitted to Mr. Mayor for consideration. She has worked for people with disabilities for decades in Durango, Bayfield, and the whole rural Southwest community, and has always been an advocate for integrating people with disabilities instead of separating them. She started actually right down the street, the first ever integrated preschool, where I myself went to preschool with Brent Janice and other kids, disabilities, no disabilities. We all worked and played together and learned a lot from each other. She started the downtown block party. She did the downtown farmers market. She was one of the first to open an Airbnb encouraging tourism to Bayfield. My father got a lot of light and shine when he passed away, but my mother is turning 70 on May 6th, so I'm here to respectfully request a proclamation naming May 6th Jackie Moreland Day in the city, or in the town of Bayfield. And I'm hoping, Mr. Mayor, maybe one of you could come to the party. It's at the Mill Street Moody's venue on Saturday. We're all invited to celebrate. Yeah, she's coming down. She doesn't know about this, so I'm hoping to surprise her. I know it's last minute, and I apologize for that. I can help write the proclamation. Again, I work for the mayor of San Diego, so I can do that. I have formats. If you need help, I can do that. But that's what I'm here. Thank you.
What time?
5.
I'm a short person.
Is there any other public input? Seeing as there is none, we'll move on to the review design for engineer KLJ contract.
Yes, so, the contract for KLJ, he's the design engineer, but based on, federal highway, standards, we did have to go out for bid, and, there's certain timelines and everything that we have to go out for. It's actually be a national search versus, just in the Herald. So we did put it on BidNet. We're using BidNet for a lot of, our contracts, at this time. And we only received one bid at the time, from KLJ. They did have an office in Montrose. They did have an office or an engineer here in Durango. However, most of their offices are in Montrose. So we did go with KLJ. Their design contract is $89,213, not to exceed. For the design, I think we have about $1,000 left to pay them. Other than that, we're complete with the design engineer. So I just wanted to make sure that you have that. I only put 2 pages of the contract actually in the packet because I felt like the rest of it was not as appropriate or applicable for tonight.
Can you explain what you mean by $1,000 left to pay them? You mean $1,000 over?
No, $1,000, we have paid them about $88,000.
Okay, gotcha, okay. I was like, I only have $1,000 to pay them, huh? Thank you.
So James Court for $1,024,540.
Yes, so, in your packet, you actually have, sorry, I'm just gonna go to the right packet here, I'm sorry, we have all these different things going on here. So we did, go out to bid, we do have to use BidNet, we do have to go out, same thing. And we did receive, 4 bids. James Corporation was the lowest. PAP LLC was $1,074,000. K&K Concrete was $1,081,000. And Neal's Excavation was 1,219,000, sorry. So, at this time, the final award will be after CDOT gives you a notice to award another project. But instead of, the time between the time that they would like to get started, it would be great if the Board of Trustees considered giving them a conditional award, so that when, CDOT gives us a notice to award, we would be able to proceed and get James, going. The award would, require an additional $190,000, and that's, it was about $185,000, but, just give or take, a couple contingencies in either the construction or the, construction management engineering. This motion should include that, $190,000 additional, to make sure that it's appropriately funded.
Katie, do we do any research on the companies that bid to do the work, just to know their history, if other municipalities have had issues with the work that's been done, or?
That's our engineer's job,
Okay.
and they submitted a full set of documents beyond just the price.
Okay.
And that's why CDOT would do their next, there's enough review of this project.
Okay. Okay.
And how much did we have budgeted for it?
So, the award was I'm sorry, I gotta find it in here. The award was, $1,025,000. So far we've spent $89,000, or almost $89,000 on the engineer. The award for construction would be $1,024,000, and then construction management would be another $96,000.
So we're
The
not,
original grant, we had 0 match requirement,
That's correct.
so we got $1 million in the grant. So now the match is the $190,000 because it's
Gotcha.
October.
Okay. That makes
But
sense.
originally we had no match for this one.
So the 190 though, is that in the budget?
That is in the street, budget for, center sidewalks on Mill Street, which
Okay,
is
so
not
this-
likely
I
to
get
be
it.
constructed.
Yeah.
Where did that money come from?
That's in your street fund. It's,
But okay, and if we take it out of there, because it's in the street fund, it'll be, street fund unfunded?
Yeah.
We'll continue to get funds in that, it'll
Yeah.
just automatically,
We just
it'll
don't
go
call
down
it.
to 300,000 because we're taking this out, but that will continue to grow because it's taxed.
Well,
Funded.
we also can,
Mill Street, you're probably gonna apply for quite a bit more than $150,000. That's the max on a street revitalization.
For instance, the 2 projects we've already got. There's a motion.
So, the total amount.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin,
Yes.
Trustee Snook, cancel, Trustee Katzos,
Yes.
and Mayor Ah.
Yay. So I have a question then. He's working with, James, and we're hiring an engineer. Is that a conflict for him to vote against the engineer before?
So your attorney, is actually on Zoom. So basically, Town Attorney Goldman, did you hear that, Trustee Snooks is going to possibly be working with the contractor? Is it a conflict of interest for him to have any consideration regarding, the construction management engineer?
In what capacity will trustee Snooks be working with James?
Like a subcontractor to them, to give them numbers and hopefully, to be doing the concrete.
Are you going to have any sort of input, authority with regards to construction management and such as a sub?
No, we're just gonna get the plans and do them exactly as they are.
Sounds good. I don't see that would be a conflict. Do you, trustee Snooks?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. If everybody's okay with that, I don't see the conflict.
I don't see a personal conflict.
I just wanted to make sure. Next up is the qualifications for conditional award to Bechtel for construction management for $96,000.
So we did hear that the construction management would be anywhere from 10 to 15% for construction management. So to kind of alleviate the guesswork out of that, Bechtel Construction, Bechtel Engineering, I asked them, I went out to quite a few engineers to get, hopefully that they would give us a proposal for construction management. And some of the engineers I talked to, they wanted to know what the specifics were for a federal highway project. And I'm like, well, if you don't know what those are, then I'm gonna have to teach you what those are for you to even give me a proposal. So Bechtel has done quite a few federal projects, and you'll see that in their qualifications that they provided in the packet. They do have these qualifications, they have done federal projects before, and what he submitted to me was very in sync with a federal project construction management. So when they did give us their cost estimates, or proposal at this time, it was $96,000, which is less than 10% of the actual construction cost. So that was a good thing, however, still $96,000. And you do have a copy of the attorney's response to my question about whether or not we had to go out to bid. We do have about 2 weeks, when we'll let CDOT know tomorrow that you've given conditional award to the contractor, and then they'll start reviewing all the documents. And then we'll have 2 weeks basically to send out an RFP, very limited, that please send us qualified bid if you're a qualified engineer to do a federal project. And that will at least give you time. So in this motion, once we get CDOT's
of the grant amount does not exceed $190,000.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin, Trustee Snooks,
Yes.
Trustee Katzos, and Mayor Ah.
Yay. Up is the reinforcement of approximately 190,000 center sidewalks to the SUV.
And we just talked about the $190,000 would basically be reapportioned. It doesn't require a budget supplement, doesn't require a change to our budget, but just reapportions that $190,000 from the Mill Street center sidewalks to this project. And it's not likely you're gonna be doing any construction on Mill Street, so we have a lot of work to do in that main business corridor.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to reappoint the approximately 190,000 from center sidewalks to SUV.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin,
Yes.
Trustee Snooks,
Yes.
Trustee Katzos,
Yes.
and Mayor Ah.
Yay. Next up is to discuss the proclamation request. I don't know who's seen what. I don't know, did you send that proclamation to the rest of the board?
The proclamation is authorized by the mayor. So that's, if you'd like us to do that, we could certainly, I didn't have any, direction to proceed with that.
I thought that was a board decision.
That's actually a mayor decision, unless the board adopts a resolution that authorizes a different manner.
Does anyone have any thoughts on issuing a proclamation for a long-time resident's birthday? looking at the projects, I don't know that we need to have the whole staff here. It seems like we're pretty much hitting on land use issues and some infrastructure type stuff.
So maybe just the full municipals, who else would be ready? Chief,
Yeah, David Jeremy.
I don't understand what the problem is if town staff wants to be here and get to know their new trustees. Obviously, they know you, but they don't know you very well. What's the issue if the staff stays?
the staff has put in a lot of time this week, and so for them to have extra time, I feel like they can get most of the information from the sickles. And I just feel like maybe it's not efficient for it to have them here.
Can you ask the staff what they think?
I can totally do that. Staff, with a raise of hands, would you prepare to be here, or would you? I'm like, I'll start with Mr. Court.
I'm here with Forest Lake. I'm here at
Oh, is it different entity? All right.
Kristen?
Kristen?
I plan to be here,
All right.
I worked it into my schedule.
I'm security, law
Yeah.
enforcement for you guys, but I also have projects that were part of the agenda, so I'm here to, and I'm prepared to talk and be here for you.
Kathy?
I'm the town's finance director. I'm responsible for the dollars. If you have questions about these projects, I should be here to answer the questions. My position says that I will attend town board meetings. This is a public meeting. And I also work for the town, I work under Katie Sickles, but essentially I'm appointed by the board, so I feel like I should be here.
Awesome. Well, I thank all you guys, and you're all welcome to stay.
Trustee Nyberg or Mayor Mike Golden here. Good evening, everyone. Just wondering if the town necessarily wants me to attend, and I'm more than happy to attend, but I'm not sure that I necessarily need to stay throughout your retreat. What's your pleasure?
When we have questions, or what if we have something that comes up and they wanna know the legalities of it? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
But, you know, if they had questions about something we wanna do and the legalities of it, we kinda need you.
You got it.
So thank you all.
Now that there's not gonna be any questions.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll start then with the 1A, icebreaker.
I kind of did a little research into How about five things?
Or maybe it's like,
Sure.
because we'll be here forever, there's a lot of us. See, I was thinking your favorite memory.
Oh, I like that too. Which do you guys feel more comfortable with? Two things that make you happy, or?
It's
A
good,
great
that
memory.
that could be in
Yeah, I'm the
subset of the same category.
Probably either one, whatever anyone's
Do yours.
comfortable with.
Sure.
You wanna
It's
start?
broader. It's broader, okay, we'll do mine. Or, not mine, but my suggestion. It was, name 5 things that make you happy. If you can just go down a list, or if you wanna elaborate on one thing that just makes you super duper happy, or, I think it's up to you. You get to respond.
Go ahead, you're first.
Yeah, good. The 5 things that make me happy are my family, especially my grandchildren, that I have my health and I can be active. That really makes me super happy. My dog Frankie makes me extremely happy. She's a mix of Chihuahua, Pit Bull, Staffy, and down at the list, she's everything. She's also part Coyote.
You did one of those three.
I did
23
one of those,
movies.
yeah. But anyway, if you look at her, you're like, what the heck kind of dog is that? And then my friendship. You're charged.
Yeah, and I live in a great place, and I have a wonderful home, and I have a wonderful family, and I have wonderful friends, and got it all.
I agree.
I'm kind of with you on that. I feel the same way. There's a lot of things that make me happy, but just being on this side of the grass, on the right side of the grass is a pretty good feeling. And that's living every day and doing the most that I can with, and every day being able to do that. Trustee Snooks?
Probably, my son and my wife, probably top two on the list, and then, my chosen family and my actual family. Not in that order, but they're pretty close. So, yeah, that's about it.
Trustee Moreland?
Gosh, it's so hard because there's so many things that make a person happy. Family and my friends that are now family, of course, come to the top. job in banking. Hey, I act every day. I act like I like my job.
Ah.
Back to you.
Okay, well, I have multiple defining moments because I am ever evolving, so one defining moment was when I moved out here when I was 20 with a boyfriend of 6 months who 6 months later was gone to Hawaii to study culinary arts there, and so I kicked around Durango and went to Fort Lewis and was a lost college kid and dealt with unaffordable housing. Imagine that. At that time. And mostly slumlords with unaffordable housing. So eventually found my way to but I think, I mean, his whole life was just paid off, a real thing, anyway, so I got to really explore the whole oil fields and find went to Phoenix, married again because I got advice a very stacked deck and a very difficult, challenging time in dealing with child custody and different states, and so I got first-hand experience with dealing with law enforcement. We wanted to, we split, home state now, okay. Well, because I was still a friend,
I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations is already expired.
Really good, that's what I was thinking, I'm out.
About the hero hardship or highlights, like, well, they're like, those are just the highlights.
Which one?
Yeah.
They could make a movie about that.
Well, I'm with Laura. My defining moment was when I had my son. You just don't know who you are or what you're made of until you have another human being that you are fully responsible for and you hope to bring to adulthood safely and productively. And I hope that you don't find like what you do is
So I did attach, the ordinance and resolution. I also provided, the Dolan Special District, formation, document, as well. And then, I provide all kinds of information about, the property tax. So a special district is a property tax, that's what you would do, if you created a special district. So in those attachments is the mill levies by district. There's 2 pages of the mill levies, by district. And then, 2,201 is all the taxing entities within, the town of Bayfield. And that actually is on the, document. So you'll see that, if you're a citizen or a property owner in Bayfield, that the final mill is 62.6620, for a mill levy. And it includes all kinds of things. So, LaPlata County General, Southwestern Water Conservation, Bayfield School District, Town of Bayfield, Pine River Cemetery. And then, below that, under information only, I just put together those bills and did multiplier times the tax revenue, that they would, collect. So the town of Bayfield, on all the property taxes we pay, within, the town is 69.9.5% of all the property tax, that's collected. But, you know, pool's expensive, it was only open during the summertime when, because it was an open air, pool. And after a while, they started to figure out how to get more amenities in other places while the pool was starting to age and needed a lot of repairs. So when Forest Lakes, if you make that decision, Forest Lakes is a metro district, actually can opt out of being in the special district. There's certain property owners that have that right. A special district actually has those authorities. Of course, I'm not an attorney, but they can opt out. You can have, big agricultural properties that say, I have 100 cows, not 100 kids, and they're not gonna use the pool or the Joe Stevenson Park or whatever else, so they can opt out. The other thing about a special district is that if you decided to put a service plan together, you're probably gonna look at putting other recreational amenities somewhere else. It's not gonna be Joe Stevenson Park, it's gonna be, maybe something needs recreation needs to be in the Forest Lakes or Vysedo or somewhere else, wherever you would have that authority to have those improvements. So I know the North Fork Pool and Rec, I know they went back a couple times to get additional property tax, to take care of the aging pool now at a point, plus now trying to get new amenities, and it failed quite a few times. I do know that they got a small increase, but now, the ambulance district, is on the west side of town, and there is a fight, from one of the fire districts, bringing out the accident there, and the fire district no longer is both the ambulance fees and fight their position in the drug market. So it took a lot of work So they could be basically in the same spot at one point. And I think that, I think it was important to kind of share this information, with you as a board, so you have that information. You are going to have to get, contact all the special districts with this in effect. Only the county commissioners, and the approval, but you probably have to get a task force, you have to get somebody other than, the town, to consider. So I wanted to make sure you have that information. It's not something that the town would necessarily do, the town could initiate it, but not necessarily carry it through because of all of the pieces. You're almost gonna have to find, some philanthropies that actually help fund it. So the North Fork School and Rec, I know that they got some funding from the county, commission to kind of set up, I think they got a total of, you guys know, total of stuff. The ambulance district also got the total of, but all of the municipalities are involved, like, but once the ballot hits, that's it. After the fact, you get a lot of, funding it won't wait for it.
So, I'm sure that this is something to do. What's different, in the special district from the library and say a recreation district and so many other districts that may want to have their own local arts or, recreation.
The service plan has to be very how it will serve parks and recreation.
Because we only have one library for all that is designated competing sub-districts rather than one district. Okay. And obviously this would be a separate entity in and of itself. And so it would have its own building, it would have its own employees, it would have its own picnic. And so, whatever is created through that, property tax, it's gonna have a chunk of it that's gonna go towards operations, is operations. And then that would also be, employees to cover all the sub-districts. So if there were parks all over the place, there were employees, so it might be a lot if every sub-district wanted. So the other thing too is, if we went with a special district for a rec, there is no guarantee that once we got this recreation district set up, that it would be guaranteed that a chunk of the money would come to Bayfield for our master park plan. Is that correct? Okay, so it might get shoved further down just because it's a larger, more elaborate, more expensive potentially.
So if you think about the population, our population in Bayfield is minor compared to this area.
Right.
So guess who's gonna look for some other amenities? Yeah, a library, yeah, I understand it's in one place. Parks are not quite the same. And Mark, just the challenge of getting a lawnmower across US 160. Was a challenge until we got a trailer.
Sure, yeah, okay. And then, so would we, if this special district was created, what would happen to our Parks and Rec department? Does that get absorbed into the special district?
The service plan will have to define that. And you would probably be more in control of that part versus.
So if a special district was established, would there potentially be outside of the district costs to the town? Meaning, if our parks were sort of falling into disrepair because we were lower down the areas, and people in the town go, what's happening to the park? What's happening to this? It's kind of, well, our new district is prioritizing the resources. The town is like no longer on budget for it.
That's about the button that costs us to on the property. And you have basically some communities that are in the unincorporated county. And that's where the fight started, or I should say, kept going for a while. Because here there was a nice pool of hospice, and now all of a sudden there wasn't money for.
And then I think, so if the district was falling short for the town, and we were coming,
So, again, I appreciate you guys putting this up to the agenda. I think what I see immediately is Forest Lake's service plan has recreation. So, and I think the district would be reluctant to let a district absorb our recreation facilities as meager as they are now, but you always have a chance to expand and grow and update, so on and so forth. I don't know if I'm not sure how the citizens would feel if they would interpret that as double dipping. But again, it goes back to how the service plan gets written. You look at kind of the population and how it's set out. So if you had a district that largely had Bayfield and Forest Lakes, and then you had an election, and let's say Bayfield keeps putting more and more people on the board and keeps winning those elections, there would be concern that that's where the pull of the resources would go. These special districts certainly have their place. And I'm not trying to talk you out of it, but I am saying from the point of view of Forest Lakes, that's probably the number one thing I see immediately, is that we are already taxing on citizens effectively to perform recreational duties. Now, that's not outside of our district. Right? So our money's not going to pay for slides and baseball diamonds in that here. It's potentially we build a rec center somewhere in between, let's say, and everybody gets to enjoy that. If we opted out, and let's say build a rec center, you would have out-of-district fees and in-district fees. Well, so there's ways to handle the financing of things through user fees. But again, property tax is your number one funder. So when you get to fee-based services, they barely keep the lights on. Okay? I think we'd be more than willing to engage in this discussion. I can assure you we'd be active in the discussion. But my first blush after getting a text from Corey sometime good afternoon to say, hey, they're discussing mechanism, would be that the concept of we being double dipped.
So are there
And just to elaborate on that real quick, you tax your citizens here, and you have a rec department, and you allocate, and I don't know if it's how you've done it, if it's designated or if it's just something that's appropriated annually for recreation, right? And in your budget, unless it's been earmarked, it can go different places annually. This would be a hard compel to all citizens who are within the district. And I think if it includes the town of Bayfield and it is wholly in Water County, does the town also have to approve the service plan as well?
Yes.
So you'd have two agencies that you'd have to get a service plan through. We would not have to approve it. We would play a role in approving it, but we would definitely play a role in expressing how we feel its effectiveness.
Are your residents happy with what you're offering in your recreation?
I don't know, we're planning on putting out a community survey. We don't offer much.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that in the future we have the potential. And I've been there since last July, and I know that there are board members who want to recharge the recreation part.
Because you have some potential.
But our service plan very clearly, we can only spend money on the four things that we do, right? Roads, water, sewer, recreation. We are limited to that. So our citizens at some point in time are expecting that. I would think it'd be a good statement. But again, these play a purpose. The devil's in the details of the service plan.
I think you'd have to have something that's entice the people that want to do it, like a rec center, or something else along those lines that they would want to go and participate. Yeah, they're paying for where they live and the recreation there, but maybe they want more services. It's not necessarily public giving, you don't have to.
Well, much like Bayfield, it's a mixed bag. We have the citizens that love it, it's great. We have our hiking trails, our little pond, lake. participating in soccer down here. We have a soccer field up there, nobody uses.
Because it's like that.
For most of the residents I've talked to up there, they don't wanna fork out any more money than they have to. So a lot of them don't wanna see the property taxes go up. A lot of them are already struggling to stay afloat up there.
Which may be the problem. And that was part of the reason before this new board here, we talked a lot about the sales tax more so than doing property tax or something against the property, because your property taxes are paid in a larger chunk, whereas sales tax are a little bit here, a little bit there. Plus, if you have amenities that people from outside of the community come in and spend money on, then it's not just a burden on the people who live here, it's also getting in people who come here and shop and
And
partake in
people that don't
businesses.
even live in the district, when you take
Yes.
sales tax, everybody that drives by and gets fuel is paying the tax.
And another question I have, if I may, is if we do opt into a special district, does that open more space up for Bayfield residents to come up and trash our pond?
It's a lake.
Yeah, sorry.
You just have to drop an S.
It's a
Lakes.
pond.
Forest Lake.
I don't think that's, yeah, that would be where you put it in the agreement, but it's not. Doesn't open you up to something like that. And I think if you were to do some, you know, this type of an agreement, you want your input on that, you have, and what we can work on together to make something that still be the sales tax, better way to go.
Well, I think the sales tax is a much better solution than doing.
It's just a matter of convincing people to do the sales tax. That's, a lot of people don't understand how little it affects them versus property tax. But how little it affects them when they're buying their day-to-day, but how much it affects them in the positive by what they reap from that reward.
But I think people also look at it too, that where are we at now, 7-9? Where's Durango at? I mean, they're at 9, so we raise it 1%. I mean, then we're almost the same sales tax as Durango, which people live out here, they don't, I don't know. I just think it gets us up
The
to that.
people who live out here do a lot of shopping in Durango too,
Yeah.
so they're paying it anyways. Most
I hear a lot of people that don't shop in Durango too. And I'm not saying to argue, I'm just saying people don't
I
like
get what you're
to
saying.
go there.
I totally get what you're saying, I just think if we're gonna do this, so to me, it's like if the community's saying, we want this for our community, which we put out a survey, they want this for the community, they want better parks, they want more lifestyle for the children.
And based on the rec numbers that Dustin provided,
It has to
with
go.
all of our new developments, we're gonna explode.
Right, so it has to be paid for somehow, and so your options, they're limited. You have
No.
a metro district, you have your property tax, your sales tax, there's not any other options to make what our citizens want to have.
The sales tax also applies to renters, which, you know, they're not paying property tax, the owners paying tax. So it applies to renters, and it also applies, like you're saying, anybody that comes by and buys gasoline or stops at the grocery store or whatever, you know, it's more spread out, and like you said, smaller amounts.
All the people from Forest Lake that come in and, you know, spend money here that we don't get property tax from them, we're getting sales tax. I mean, it just is what it is.
I have one comment too. We're talking about affordable housing here in town of Bayfield, and we're gonna increase people's property taxes. We're pushing people.
That right there.
Pushing people out. That's the one thing I've heard the most of since I've elected is property tax. What can you do with property tax? Why is it going up? What's
Yeah.
changing? We're not seeing any change really going up, but it's going up.
Have you looked where the bulk of the money goes though?
I haven't looked at any of it.
Goes to the school district.
Yeah, I just.
So if you want your
District and fire
schools,
district both.
So, yeah, the
position. I'm a resident of Forest Lakes. I'm also the Director of Recreation for the town of Bayfield. As a resident of Forest Lakes since 2001, I would not vote for my property taxes to be raised for an outside district. Just my opinion, not talking as a town clerk. If I would vote for anything for Forest Lakes, I'd want it to stay in Forest Lakes. I'd vote for better roads, I'd vote for the main loop roads getting paved. I did vote yes for putting up the office in Forest Lakes. But as the recreation coordinator, we have a great recreation program. I've done research into prices in other towns. We are still the cheapest town in the county as far as recreation, because Durango starts at $50, even for their lower little kid programs. So it's something that we'll really take serious and be sustainable on that, and we're really proud of that. And that's where the Jersey programs come in, that's where facility rentals come in. We're really trying to work on making things more sustainable, so we can't grow it. And we realize it's not a revenue driver, but as Kat hit, 35% increase in a 4 or 5 month span in just soccer registrations. And baseball's going. That's what's even more impressive. So, and that increase is in the pre-K to second grade level. So it's only gonna increase. Yeah. Yeah, it's so much so we're adding a third field for the little kids on Monday on the north end. We're gonna stripe it on Monday just to give some relief and some more space out there. Because parents are very attached to kids when they're that age. So I'm having a real hard time keeping them off the fields and having my coaches be able to teach the games. So just a little input from a Forest Lakes resident and a rec director.
Any other questions from the public?
Just to stay aware of what's going on, what the plan is. So the tax vote was 503 against and 349 in favor.
That's pretty good for just a.
No talk about it, no nothing,
No,
it just
nothing.
ended up on the ballot.
Yeah, I've been in far worse,
Yeah, I think it's very doable if we educate and talk and do surveys and get it in front of people. And I wouldn't even push the issue if it wasn't for the fact that we did a survey and it's what they wanted.
It was
You know,
huge.
It was huge.
Yeah.
People wanted it.
I'm still upset about it.
Yeah. I'll help you next
I
time.
got no comp plan comments, but
Yeah.
Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
Well, we are gonna, I mean, we're gonna need a building of sorts to do winter activities in, because that school building's not gonna last
Right.
a whole lot longer.
Right.
And we need to start planning for that. So, again, I don't know how that, I mean, I don't know. People were talking a rec district, and I'm like, oh, that's the way we can get there.
Right.
Because just having it come from here, I don't know that that's gonna work.
Yeah, just thinking about I'm the same way with the rec district. I was thinking, well, we have a building up there, we could put a rec center up there. You know, we could have like satellites, I don't know. But, that the gym does belong to the school district, but we do have all of our programs in there, and it isn't gonna last forever. Every year we say that. So we need to have a plan that includes an indoor space with the rest of the park stuff.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, based on Dustin trying to figure out how to get everybody in for pickleball and
Right.
volleyball and indoor soccer and, you know, I wouldn't disagree with
And he
that.
has a building now too, it's easy. Couple of years, that building might not be around, so. Not that it's easy, I know. I have a feeling when we got there, we'll do it.
Katie's eyebrows go.
So we can do a flag.
What would that, I'm just wondering it, because it's kind of an interesting thing. What would that mean? I'm just curious, if, say, you know, Cash used all of, because that's like 6 million for phase 1. So, there's
Here's
that.
the one, we talked about this last year,
Okay,
so
okay.
I can kind of see maybe that a little bit.
Yeah, okay, so we'll,
nonstop with emails and contacts with people that are wanting us to buy their software so that we can get compliant. So as far as I was nearsighted, difficult to read, we almost got to the point of reading the legislation. It would be easier just to take everything off the website than try to make it compliant with the new legislation. So there is new legislation that will implement the law, but in a way the lawsuits for 1 year. So a lawsuit, every time I do it, every time I have a disability,
Well, I know ours didn't cost that much, but if you wanna go look on our website.
Civics Plus, who is our website provider, is updating their DSN or whatever. DNS.
We're getting a new platform for our website.
So we're trying, we're doing a lot of testing, and then we have SIPA, state wide internet portal authority. They also have funding for some of these programs that you can purchase. You know, the thing is that it was my focus around March,
Yes.
and April just, I don't know where April is.
No, I
So
understand.
we're taking steps, and I think that's what really the state wants us to do is, I mean.
Show good faith.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're trying to do, cleaning up our website, correcting things that we know we need to be corrected, working with Civic Plus for this new platform. It should be a seamless transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever you're talking tech.
From our current website to this new platform that will give us more options to meet the ADA requirements. As long as everything's transitioned.
I figured that's what it was.
Is this true for like everybody that has a
State of
website?
Colorado.
Not just,
Municipal
not just
government.
municipal, that
Not
was
just
my
municipals, counties.
Schools, fire district, everything.
private business.
I don't believe so. Not, at least not the ones we're
I'm just paying attention to the whole perspective.
I'm just curious. That's great way to shut down business completely. Even this day and age.
Well, it has come up at CML, so I was, there's, Blue River, small town, we've been talking about basically, all those options, so it's not easy for any, school districts are asking for the extension, but they've asked for the extension for all the, lawsuits, which could be, extreme.
It's weird that they did it in the middle of the year too, because you can't even
They're
budget.
July 1st.
waterwise landscape, I think that's a great idea. You
I
know,
would love to do it.
yeah, I think that's a great idea. And so, are you looking to find someone to do that at this time, or is it just, because it's down in the, here's my hopefuls, so, you know.
Gonna get through in the next couple months.
Okay. And then the Heritage Farm, the landscape for that, it is, I may have been misunderstanding. Isn't it Heritage Farm supposed to be part of it?
It is.
Okay, okay.
It's just Pine River Shares had approached us about wanting maybe do something sooner than later.
Oh,
And so
okay.
it could be something that happens independently of the master plan. It could be something that happens when it's that big. Especially if it's ongoing.
This is more specifics, like where are people gonna walk and sidewalks and how is it gonna be, how are we gonna protect it from people doing, you know,
Weird.
graffiti in the middle of the night, you know, that kind of
Turning
thing.
negotiations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it goes
the problem is with Pine River Shares, which, you know, I was part of the original trying to produce this thing. The trouble is now Pine River Shares is the owner of a 10-acre community farm, which is taking up a lot of their resources. Yeah, the priorities have changed. We didn't even, when we were working on the Heritage Farm, that piece of property out there wasn't even an option. It wasn't an option when we requested ARPA funds either. It came after that.
And then I'm interested in the combined childcare. I hadn't heard anything about that.
So this is what was working on by the, fire district and school district in town before I got here.
Oh, okay.
And I've been approached a couple times by 37s, and I talked to Leon about it, that they wanted to do and they did a plan, and I talked to April at Beat today too. So they were involved, and she said, yeah, it's been on the table for a while.
Wow, okay,
So,
okay. I just hadn't heard that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Yeah, there's a combined childcare.
For employees.
Yeah. It's out there, but it's not
well,
moving or anything like that.
so the issue is that people, they can't afford to buy a house, but then they can't find childcare.
Yeah, yeah.
So firefighters that have young families, you know, our police officers that have young families, getting childcare, you know, how do you hire somebody that, first of all, they can't afford a house, and they can't find anybody to take care of their kids.
I will say Prop 123 is looking at childcare as well, which
Yeah.
we've opted into, so we would be the lead agency, whereas like the fire and school district are not in
Mhm.
Prop 123. But they're trying to create funding for childcare for those specific
Yep.
reasons.
Gotcha.
So there's gonna be more funding out there
Oh,
for
great.
early childcare.
Excellent. I remembered something like that, but then when I saw Katie, I wasn't sure.
So we'll keep an eye out.
Well, and speaking of you too, April had nothing but good things to say about her meeting with you, and she really appreciated that. So I wanted to say kudos to you for that. So, thank you.
Any other questions for Katie? Okay, Nicole, you're up.
Well, I'm just gonna kind of go through all these projects quickly, and then, you can ask questions if you have any of each one. Really just tried to put together a list of everything we've got going on right now. Some of these are happening right now, some of these are a little bit further in the future, depending on like a signal. And so, you know, not everything's gonna be here in the next year or two. We have some time for some of this development to occur. But as Clover 7 is wrapping up, you know, we are running out of inventory of new single-family lots in town. But Mustang Crossing is, they're still in the infrastructure stage, but they're getting close to wanting to start pulling building permits. They've got a plat for 19 units approved, and that's in their phase 1A. And it's a total of 81 units for the whole project. So Glenn Mozell, who was the developer that was before the board for all the approvals, has stepped away from this project. And Jeff Jorgensen, who was the financer behind it, is stepping in. He's a developer as well. But he's out of Arizona, but he's stepping in. He's been very responsive to us, with stepping in and taking over the project to see it through. And so they, like I said, they're trying to get the infrastructure complete so they can start pulling building permits for those first 19 units.
originally they were gonna have, I think Glenn wanted to build them all, and now it looks like they're gonna be selling the lots through Caldwell Banker, to individual builders, which is good, because we've had some, Jeremy and I both have had inquiries from local builders that there's no lots anymore, and so they would like to really get into these lots, and so I think that's a good thing to open it up to multiple builders, rather than just one.
With 19 lots, won't be hard to fill out.
Well, not the way things are moving right
It's
now.
in a bunch of them, Liberty Road's there too. They got them all in there, yeah.
But I think Caldwell's the main.
Yeah, I think they're just listing with them.
Developers, yeah. Orchard, I just issued them their 4th CO today. And they are looking at, right now, possibly doing the townhomes, which they have, now, actually, this has changed. They came back and reduced that to 4 townhomes. So, they are looking at maybe doing those next, unless they get interest in the single family. They're actually holding on to them right now, they're renting them, not selling them, just because, it's hard for them to find purchasers because of interest rates. They're finding it more valuable to them, they're holding on. But hoping to sell them in the future. Marla, any questions on those three? Marlin Village is our tiny home village. We just ran into some state issues with this one. The state's, they're being a little difficult right now, I'll say.
We want affordable housing.
We're gonna make it hard to have affordable housing. So Dolan is just now taking over the, review and inspections of tiny homes that are more permanent. And I would say in the last 3 months, I've had a lot of conversations with DOLA because they rolled out these, they're essentially new requirements from the state without actually communicating with all of us. I just found it because I knew they were talking about it. County didn't know about it, Durango didn't know about it, Silverton didn't know about it, so we've all kind of been talking to each other because we all have tiny home villages. Silverton's getting their first one. And ultimately what we ended up with is, so just real briefly what the state did is, they're saying tiny homes have to be built to meet the residential IRC. So the same as a stick-built home, they want tiny homes to meet all the requirements of the IRC, including energy efficiency. But through all this communication with the state, and they want every manufacturer in Colorado to be registered with the state. And the state goes into their facilities and does the inspections and the plan reviews. So essentially, they were gonna kill our tiny home industry. But none of the manufacturers in the state registered with the state, so the state has no work, even though they've been doing this now, because no one can meet those requirements when they build the same home. But the state did say if the tiny home's coming from out of state, if it was built before July of last year, then we can create our own regulations for it. So they're penalizing our state businesses, but giving us more flexibility with out-of-state builders bringing tiny seeing now are like 60 pounds per square foot, so they surpass our snow loads, even the ones built in Texas, just because of the size of them. So we want them to make sure they meet our snow loads. They have to have a third-party inspection, which includes electrical, to make sure that they were built safe. We don't go into units. We take their third-party inspection, and that's their liability. If something happens, the third-party inspector is not. But we do inspect to make sure they're connected to the water and sewer correctly. And that's it. So, I'm hearing our information is now trickling to other communities in the state, so we'll see. Bayfield might lead the charge on this one because of Marlin Village and really just trying to work with them.
Well, let's be clear.
That's right.
Our-
Nicole's leading the charge,
Yeah,
not us.
exactly.
So, maybe more information to come. I'm hoping the state is recognizing that what they put out there is not possible and that they will take a look at it and make some additions. As far as I know, the only one that's a rental is their vacation. The rest of them are not. And they said we have 3 more. I think we have 6 more. And they can only have 15. So they were looking at 3 to 5 years. Anyway, so that's the ground, the rest of the country. Some of it housing, not for everybody, but some people really want it. It's cheaper. And the states, $2 million for the landlords and allow them to they want us to have housing, then we make them do it. And then more They came out and changed that. And the hotel, the second, fifth, the hotel, the children's hotel, that's the unit. They have big factory that children's, and you'll be seeing them, they're actually constructing them, I saw them the other day, they're wrapping white. That's what I it's a huge piece of our housing needs, but because we didn't do much manufacturing, that makes it hard to control them. So that's why we have so many.
Maybe a good market for everyone to go over one.
Yeah.
I've only seen the single family homes done,
Yeah.
until I saw them stacking
They're
those.
doing different
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
We looked into it, and it was between what we could build one for and doing like a whole unit like that.
That's a lot.
Only like $1 cheaper.
Yeah,
per
that's
square
right.
foot or
At the
something.
house,
It's not-
nice.
doesn't
Where it
save
does
much.
help, and so Mike Fouts, he's in the gauge on FCI, and where he says it really does help is if they're having a hard time with, labor,
Mhm.
you don't need as much labor for that.
Yeah.
And it's fast.
Yeah, it's fast, the
Every crew
labor,
follows us
but it
around.
was slightly
That's all
more
they do is
expensive.
Right, because of the how far they are.
They have to move them so far
Yeah.
beyond the manufacturing. Actually, we need a
Lego
manufacturing plant here.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty phenomenal.
There are
the way
places
they
we're
work.
talking about
Yeah.
for years. They are very, whether it happens or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're a good, I think they're a good thing. I mean, it's quality control, it's all done in time.
To the
Sure.
lease.
property so that we can protect housing. And then, I spent the last couple of years trying to get grants. Gives us these numbers every spring, and I just saw, we just got an email, so I haven't digested it yet. But, so if it's a rental, it has to be 60% AMI. Before we can go under contract with the developer. And so that's gonna take some time. At this point, the town is essentially done with our part. The only thing left is to get the money back for the sale of the properties. And if we need to help get some more grant funding to get the prices lower. But we had the engineering done. The architecture was done in 2006, so when the town bought the lots, the architecture plans came with them. But And so all of that was part of this package to help a developer come in and be able to build them. So at this point, once we have the RFQ and contract for all the grants and with the developer, the town's done. And then we would work with this developer to figure out at the timing of when we would get our money back from the purchase of the property, whether it's if they have the ability to buy us out right away, or if it's at a certain phase, we get it back after a certain so many lots. So that's something we would have to negotiate, and of course, the board would be a part of these negotiations.
Once we get those funds back, are we sort of creating a fund that would go towards future development?
That's your call, as we
Okay.
go through budgets,
Okay.
every year about something.
Okay.
But in terms of our process, we're coming to an end and hopefully be able to turn this over to somebody else and still get us the type of housing that we need in our community. Any questions on some of the nights? I think in the next 4 to 6 weeks, you'll be seeing a lot more when we try to finalize some of this stuff.
Do we have any time frame on that, on the, report that the RHA is going to be doing?
The needs assessment?
I remember, I'm guessing it's this year, but,
Yeah, I think it's gonna be this
but
year.
it'll be, after pandemic.
The nice thing about it is we already have one for the whole region, so they're just updating. So it's not a full, study again, but that's what the state's gonna require for us to be able to,
Every year.
yeah, get that. Well, that's another thing, there's legislation's out that they want every community over 1,000. So we're being in the same boat as Denver,
Yeah.
to provide a needs assessment every year. I mean, so again,
They want housing.
reach out to our senator. I mean, they want housing, but you know, at some point you just know we have a need. Do we need, doing a report to prove that we have a need for housing? But those are the kind of things that are coming out of the state
What
right
happens
now, so
when we
I
run
would.
out of land? Cause we only have so much.
Well, I would
That's
just
a
say,
preemptive.
I would just say pay attention to what's coming out of the state, cause there's a lot coming out of the state right now that's gonna affect land use, in comparing us to big cities and municipalities.
Well, and probably that needs assessment is how they determine who gets the money,
It
so
is,
it.
but
so
a
I can
yearly
see-
thing is hard.
For sure.
Yeah,
For
expensive
sure.
too.
It is. So those are some of the things that we're following.
We should talk to the RHA about contracting with somebody that would be willing to do it.
I think Moxie,
Annual
Project Moxie has been doing that.
Or in
She's
Root.
And Root,
Root
yeah.
policy
They
did the
did-
last
They
one.
done those together, so.
And those that were in our comp plan meetings, root policies, when they came and talked to us about housing.
Yeah.
So she did the last needs assessment for the region.
So you're thinking in the next year, 2, 3 years, how,
So
we'll see.
we actually are talking to the developer right now about a schedule. And I think they said maybe by the end of 25, 10 units. And so it's gonna be a phased approach. Our grants are for infrastructure. And so we gotta get the infrastructure in by the end of 2026. Vertical, we don't have any grants for vertical, so that can take as long as they need it to take. But what we wanna maybe talk to the county about is, if the developer thinks that they can get the infrastructure in, a little bit cheaper, just cause they're here, they're local, they've got local contractors that they would be working with, local excavator. If they can get it in a little cheaper, will the county be willing to let us use it for vertical as well, not just the infrastructure? So we'll be having those conversations with the
It would be easier to use the county $700,000
Oh, yeah, than the
to
state.
go on.
Cause the
Yeah,
other
for
one's
sure.
not.
The other one, yeah.
Yeah, we have a really good relationship as a county versus.
Yeah, and we have flexibility in what that looks like. The infrastructure grant, we don't, it's just for infrastructure. So there's gonna be some of those, but, I think they were thinking, I'm trying to remember what their schedule said, maybe by 27. But again, you know, our, just the way we build here, we're not a huge developer that comes in and builds everything at once. And so that's how they're looking at it, is phasing the vertical,
Well, yeah,
because that's realistic.
What happens, so if they're not gonna have them built, say, 27,
The vertical, all the vertical.
right, but at the current rate of inflation, I mean, it's gonna be another 20% a year
So
from now.
AMI changes every year too, though. So it's.
So we'll get
based
more
on the-
money?
No, the price of the home
Price of the home can go up,
based on our AMIs.
yeah, so.
So it's supposed to rise with inflation, the AMI, and that's why HUD does it every year.
AMI
How's
is
he gonna
really
build them for what?
qualification.
He's
So-
contracting for.
Well, but that's the issue, so in other words, if a house to build today is $400,000, we're trying to hit this AMI. If it's $450,000, AMI is also, is doing the same
So the
thing,
builder's still gonna
so
be able to do that, cause he
They
can
can-
sell them for more as
Yeah.
time goes.
every time. And the one thing that she didn't say is that it will require a replat. So we found out some of the existing units are built outside of their property line. And so that's the discussions we've had with the HOA, and actually one of them that has been attending at the HOA meetings, they understand that their house was built outside of the property. Typically, those types of townhome lots, you build them and then you do an as-built plat, which they didn't do.
So
So
we're gonna change, we're essentially gonna, as part of us
Benefit
replatting,
them.
cause we do need to change some of our lots, just based on topography and what works better. So as we replat, we're gonna do an as-built for those units and get them corrected in the existing units.
So they don't have to apply for variances?
No,
No.
no,
They
as-built.
don't want
That's
their-
the-
That's
Yeah.
SOP for that kind of project.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, no, it's pretty simple, so. Any other questions on some of that? So like I said, you'll be seeing more of this in the next 4 to 6 weeks as we formalize this. I'll be bringing it to you.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Get those babies in the ground.
So Pine River Commons, very similar project in terms of deed restricted, but very different in terms of the funding. Private developer wants to do this, but, previous board had wanted to partner with them and allow my time to be able to help them apply for some grant funding to get the cost down. So they did receive 1.1 million, for the first 22 units, and we just applied for, the EIF, which is Energy Impact Grant through DOLA. So communities that have oil and gas in their communities can qualify for this grant funding. And they have, for the first time, they have one called More Housing Now as part of this. Usually it was for major infrastructure projects, roads, bridges, stormwater, water, sewer. So now they're having something specifically for housing. So we did apply, the previous board approved through resolution for us to apply for 2 million of that funding. We hopefully will hear soon. And I think the interview, they do an interview process with the State Board of Housing in June. And so hopefully we'll hear soon if we're moving to that next level for them. And that'll help with some of their infrastructure for their next phases, because they're not gonna wait on this phase, they gotta keep moving. So where this project is, we have a building permit interview for 5 units, attached units. We're waiting for their infrastructure to be completed, water and sewer. Street, we need the street to be compacted with road base. And once they have all that, we'll issue them their first building permit. We will not issue any COs, and this, we're doing the same for Cinnamon, or for Mustang Crossing. I've been doing this a long time, and we always required full paving, curb, gutters, sidewalks before we issue permits. And then the construction crews come up there and rip curb, gutter, and sidewalk, and it goes to the landfill, and then they rebuild it. So we're trying to do something a little bit different. And so we're saying, we want road base, they don't have to pave right now, for them to start construction. We wanted curb, in Mustang we got curb because that's how we measure where we put the water meter pits. In this instance, it's, they're all private streets, and so we're working with them on not having to do that. No sidewalks right now. Get in there, get the building permit, start building, and then before they get COs, they have to finish all of that. So we're really trying to, I would say, make it easier for them, save some time for them, save a lot of expense, and save the planet.
Well, talking to them at the RHA meeting, they have people that are like,
They have a list.
can I give you money? Can I,
They have a list
can
of
you
people
hold
that are
something for
applying.
me? So that's how desperate people are
Yeah.
for homes, you know.
Yeah, so they're trying to do construction a little bit better for everybody and work more as a team.
I think it's good.
So,
In Clover Meadows, we ripped out town, like, you don't want rebar in your sidewalks, because they do have to come out every once in a while to fix water leaks, so you don't wanna have to be cutting through rebar every single time you do it, so. They just, they just shatter, I mean, especially if you're driving, like I said, on the drop off trusses or something like that, they just shatter. There's nothing to do about it.
So we'll see a lot more with that one coming up, but I think foundations for 5 units soon, hopefully. Clover Meadows Phase 8, this is a project, that, if you all remember, our zoning maps were not correct. And we brought them through a rezone process and realized they were rezoned in like 2017, and we found all that information. So they're multifamily. This is one where, you know, we're gonna have some neighbors that have concerns, talking to the developer team about making sure that we're sensitive to those single-family larger lots and what we put against them. But this, you know, could be a nice townhome project in our community, infill, infrastructure's there, and could be a great project, but right now, they're not, I think it's Corey Gosney, and he's working on Mustang Crossing, he's working on Pine River Commons, so I think he's spread a little thin right now, but, I'm sure that that's gonna be coming back.
Yeah, on those two.
Yeah.
We're also on
That's right.
Mustang Crossings and.
Yeah, so you guys, they're spread out, but I mean, my guess is that we'll be seeing that one again in the near future, so just a heads up on that one.
We've talked about it a little bit, it's coming soon.
Ironton, this is the property just north of the post office. We went through an annexation process in 2022, was finalized in 2023. 100 RV cabin sites, 20 duplex lots closer to the house on the south side. This one, the engineers have been reaching out quite a bit, so I think they're gonna be prepared to do a submittal soon. They, you know, we've heard they started a traffic study, I don't know if it's completed yet. But, so I think we will be seeing this project coming forward soon. This is one of those reasons why we kind of say we should start talking lodgers tax. 100 RV units.
Yeah, we were just trying to get the.
Right, the part, we had to choose.
We had to choose one or the other.
But it's just something to keep on the radar. We don't have a lodgers tax, so right now, lodgers technically pay the county. We get nothing. There's a lot of different things we can use a lodgers tax for, and I'm sure Katie and I would be happy to have more discussion with you about that in the future, but as we're seeing these lodging opportunities. The other one is, we've been talking to Outdoorsy about annexing. So it's another possibility. They would rather work with us than the county. And so, you know, we might see some RV parks coming into the town, and so it's something we should keep on our radar with lodgers tax.
I think I'm really concerned about Ironton just because the access into our Mill Street, that's one of the two ways in. And having 100 RVs coming in and out of there and, you know, and I'm sure that they're not staying for weeks at a time, I'm sure that
No,
they're.
it's gonna be more of a
Yeah.
turnaround. So we've talked with them about it, and they're really working on what that pull-off looks like to get people off of those roads as soon as possible.
So they're not coming in off the 160 though?
Yeah, they
No.
probably would be.
Would?
We
I
can't
wouldn't
stop
mind
them
that.
from coming into town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I understand that, but I feel like if the entrance was visible from the 160 and they could come into the 160.
I think that's where they would like most people, and that's probably the route they're gonna guide people if they go to their website to look
If
at
that happens, I
it.
feel
Because the
better
turn's
about
gonna be
this.
a lot easier
Yeah.
right in versus a left.
Yeah.
But again, we can't stop somebody from coming in off the parkway, but, you know, making sure that they have ample space for these rigs to get off of the road.
They won't have any access directly off of 160 though.
No.
'Cause
Oh, is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what they
yeah,
are.
sorry.
CDOT won't let them.
CDOT won't let them.
No, so they'd have to come down Buck Highway.
But they can always like have a whole turnoff lane in on their own
And
property.
that's what their
Excel
engineers are looking
rezone.
at, they're, and as part of the traffic study,
Yeah,
so.
that's what we would be looking for.
And they have been communicating with their engineers as well, so.
And usually once you're in the park, they usually have a way to get back out.
I just think about trying to get around Durango when all the tourists are here and the RVs and all of that, and the impact not the best location for RVs.
I think
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, they need 2 more lanes on the parkway.
Yeah,
At
we'll see
least.
what the traffic study says.
Yeah. That's just a concern I have.
Especially when they come rolling in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or 8 in the morning when they're leaving.
And I'm curious, because this is gonna be a higher turnaround, I'm curious how many winter guests we will have versus summer, when there is no school. I don't know. Because they don't want long-term.
Looking at the eyesore that we did.
Hope Christian School, so we just did a neighborhood meeting. Hope Christian School, when they came in for their rezone to go from residential to community, they were showing the access coming through the church's property, the church's driveway. Then they hired their engineer and started looking at that axis, and they would have to realign, because it comes in at an angle, they'd have to realign the whole driveway because of the county's requirements, how it comes into County Road 501. So they started looking at the expense of all that. And they're a platted lot, they're part of the Dove Ranch, and they actually have a street that stubs to them, so they have legal access off the public right of way. And so they started investigating that. And what staff told them is, it's public right of way, you have legal access, but because the neighbors all saw your access coming out of the church, we want you to do a neighborhood meeting before we'll start either any type of public hearing process. So we did that before I went on vacation. It was not my meeting, we let them host it here, but they did all the hosting, I sat there, took notes, and I answered questions about process and, timeline of the process, but I did that, it was their project to defend. Neighbors were concerned about school traffic on Dove Ranch. We are required a traffic study, and CDOT and the county are involved, and they're gonna require a traffic study to also look at the intersection of 160 and County Road 501. So they have to look at that intersection as well as the Dove Ranch intersection. So, no formal submittal, but just in communication with them and their engineer, and I expect that we'll see a formal submittal in the next couple months probably.
Wasn't there a sewer issue as well?
There was not. They wanted to go through some properties in Dove Ranch to access a sewer in one of the Dove Ranch roads, and those neighbors said no. They have other options to get to sewer. That was just gonna be the least expensive. So they're looking at their other options. So I would say there's access to sewer. They just wanted it to be a quicker, cheaper location, and they did. The neighbors said no.
Well, there is a manhole outside of Dove Ranch.
I know, but it was put in, didn't give us an easement. We can't get in there and maintain it. We have no legal, so the two neighbors, own the properties, so there's a sewer main that goes through two properties, and no easements granted. And the HOA has easements, but the ranch HOA, that doesn't exist.
There's no HOA.
Yeah, but it's on the plat, and the plat's never been changed. So the HOA has easements, the town does not. So the only way we can get in there and maintain that is we needed easements, and the neighbors said no. So they can't use that, because there's no way for us to get in and maintain it.
So what happened? Go ahead.
They put it in without getting appropriate easements.
Wait, go ahead, wait.
What happens if it backs up right there?
The neighbors are very clear in writing that it's their responsibility to maintain that main because they did not give us any easements, and they accepted that.
Say that when you.
Well, I think this, again, this is another one of those, even though it's a short entrance to that cut-in, nobody can park on Dove Ranch. Like, nobody can park
Well,
on
you can
Dove
park
Ranch.
on it, but you can't drive down it. You
Yeah,
park on it.
exactly, that's what I'm saying, is that people, so
And
it's,
people park on it because there's nothing that says it's illegal to park on it.
and
There's
they,
no HOA?
So I'm gonna caution us on
Yeah.
this one, and Michael can weigh in. All these projects are gonna be coming to you, as quasi-judicial. Again, you'll be the judges, so we need to be careful on talk beyond staff just updating you on
Thank you.
This one definitely goes to the planning commission, and if they don't if they wanna appeal that decision, it comes to the board. So I just wanna, and I'll try and do that from time to time on some of these projects that are gonna be considered project conditional. But, just providing you updates. Upper Pine Fire, so this was through site plan review. They got a use by review through planning commission to build a new fire station and the medical clinic, within the Bayfield Center. They, had to pause the project to get more funding, so they're working on some grant funding. But it looks like they've received some funding to be able to finish up the site plan process in their engineering to get their approvals. And in Colorado, once you get approvals, it's considered a site-specific development plan, and you have a 3-year vesting on those approvals. So that's what they're trying to do, and so they got some funding to be able to complete the process. They've already got planning commission approval, so now it's just finalizing their engineering with our engineering staff, before we issue them the site plan approval. So that's where that one's at. And then the next one, Tractor Supply. So Tractor Supply, we're essentially ready to issue them a building permit. There's a few minor things that we need from them, and that is they're getting some third-party inspections, including fire sprinkler system, and they have to provide us a list of who's doing those inspections, and they're working on that. And then once all that's done, we should be ready to issue them a building permit. So we will be seeing that one starting very soon, but their site plan process is completed. Porky Smokehouse, I don't know what's going on with that. We issued them a building permit in January, and we don't get much from them until they need an inspection. So we're hoping they'll be completed soon. Seems like they're moving that way, but it's been a very it's been a very slow
Add to the
process.
rotation.
It wasn't because of the
And
town.
it's not Mexican.
It's all- Yeah, it's all on them, why they're taking so long. Just, we got that one done pretty fast. Transportation projects, everyone knows what's going on Mill Street. We're, wrapping up the east sidewalks. We have to have that completed by the end of June. And we're getting close. I saw the poles gone.
Yeah, they got concrete coming tomorrow at 10. So that should be the last pour, and then they can get all those ugly barrels and the fencing and all that stuff put up. We're still waiting on the handrail. So they have the submittal. That'll have to go up before it's actually open and safe, but the rest of the concrete should be in tomorrow.
Just hoping it's all done by church.
Yeah.
Has to be done by June. So Bayfield East intersection, so this project, we are at 60% engineering. We just revised a, traffic study per CDOT's comments, looking at the Haga property as well with all the development that's coming with that. Revised the traffic study, our engineers reviewed it, so we're getting prepared to, submit 60% engineering and a traffic study to CDOT for their review. We did receive 1.57 million from congression-directed spending. We asked for 3, because that's what the engineering cost estimate was at the conceptual level. Our engineers are now gonna do an additional cost estimate based on the preliminary plans, because things have changed. That was a year ago cost estimate, so things have changed in a year, and we have, our plans are further along. So that I have a better idea of how much more funding I need to go find. So looking at some grants. So if you guys see grants come up, send them my way, because I don't see them all. We need to get some more funding for this project to be able to do it. The CDOT is gonna participate in funding. They said anywhere from 400 to 800,000, so it's a kind of a, for the signal. So as we get closer, we'll have a better understanding of what they'll be able to participate in as well. And we're kind of keeping that one separate from the road north, just because that's gonna take a little bit more effort, more funding. You know, we are looking at the 2 different concepts that the school district and the board of trustees said we can look at. Possibly bringing another concept back. It's something that we might bring up at a future date, but we hear one of the properties that the road was gonna go through, and option number 5 might be interested in selling to us. So again, that's not
Voluntarily selling to us.
Yes. So something we might bring back up to the board as we get to that point. But we still have ICAF, the oil and gas on crossings and all of that, as we're narrowing down our concepts. But really, a lot of our efforts right now are in the signal, because even in Bayfield East, once we get the signal, we can get some access to, for them to start doing the commercial, and then we can work that road up to residential. But if
Well,
we can
didn't
get
we
the
also
commercial.
have money from the school for that project?
We are, and
It's
we're
not
usually,
sure.
We're using
so
it
half
for-
of that is, for engineering, well, the other half is possible match. But we had 500,000 from the school, and so half is going towards engineering, and then the other half, hopefully we can use to find some money. I'm also, I've asked, the nice thing about the congressional directed spending, which is federal funding, is that CDOT gets, I get to work with CDOT on that versus the federal government, which is, if you've worked on federal grants, this is gonna be so much easier for us. And so I've asked CDOT already if we can use that as a match for other funds, including federal funding. And I haven't got, they're gonna look into that for me, because if we can use some of that 1.57 as our match to get other grant funding, that's gonna help a lot. So more to come on that one too, but engineering's going forward, and CDOT's gonna start reviewing where we're at right now. Any questions on that one?
So what's the school district's biggest holdup?
I don't know.
Yeah. You
So
guys
so what I understand, Kristen kind of pays attention to the Zoom, online, and so we'll show up and we'll have these discussions about, the intersection and everything else, and then we'll leave, and then we'll have more discussion about it, and we're kind of puzzled about what the issue is, so I thought, well, I'll start going to accountability meetings, our district accountability meetings, and just kind of get a gauge of what the issue was, because every place else I've worked, the school district will, we'll have those discussions, and the local government will figure out how to get grants to build drop-off pickup lanes, pedestrian access, the whole thing, and I'm don't understand.
Trying to improve it.
Yeah, so we've asked the school board to meet with the board, and their superintendent won't allow that, and I don't understand, we have the board of county commissioners here, I said we've done this before.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. But,
Well,
maybe
it's
we don't have a good relationship, I don't know.
There hasn't been a good, that goes back years, like a lot of years. There's always seemed to have been like a butting heads there, and I'm not even sure what started it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it
don't
started before I even came to town, but it was always there.
Even like the arena discussions in those parks,
That was I don't know, it's their property, or it could be revert to them, so
Right.
we'll
Well, they
respect.
used to own the whole Joe
Right.
Stevenson Park, that was their bus barn. And it may have started over that, I don't know, but
I have no idea, but so did the sewer plant, that whole property belonged to the school,
yeah.
so, I don't know, but we'll try to see how we can.
We have a new board too, so they may have a little bit of a different opinion on it. Because the last board kind of was like, oh, well, we don't really wanna put our opinion in here. And I was like, well, we kinda need your opinion, cause we need to go forward with one of these, so we wanna know, what's your favorite? We wanna know, well, what would you choose if, like this is gonna go on your property, we wanna know what option you would pick, and all of them kinda went, I don't know, we don't really wanna make that decision. So maybe their new board would have a bit of a different opinion on it too.
Is there any chance of getting a meeting with their new board?
My goal is this summer, to see if they will, ask them again. The superintendent seems to be really nervous about that, and I've tried to figure out, well, this is how you do it. You post an agenda, you post it on your door, and we post it on our door. I think,
That's why we only had two show up to the last board meeting.
Yeah, they
They
won't.
didn't, he didn't want our whole board meeting with his whole board.
so,
Yeah.
but maybe there just needs to be a better comfort level,
Yeah.
would be my guess. Because the eminent domain may have been scared them off of, and I said, well, I don't see the town of Bayfield even making that decision, let alone the school district even suggesting it, so. But now that we have a property owner involved, contacted me a couple times and would like to sell, if that's what we'd like to do. It's like, oh, cool, well, we'll see what happens.
So if you were to proceed, and they don't weigh in, it's kinda like you're gonna get what you're gonna get versus,
Yes and no.
Just the
If
money.
we proceed on their property,
yeah,
they have to
Okay.
weigh it,
Yeah.
it's their property.
yeah.
If we proceed like through a property that is willing to sell to us, we might not have to get them involved. We have a big easement,
Mhm.
on the north side, and then we have the big easement running north-south. So it's possible we don't need, even need to deal with them, because we have our easements in place,
Gotcha.
just depending on the alignment.
Got it.
They were having a very hard time deciding what they're gonna do with their properties, cause I'm volunteering for a committee right now with the school district that's going to create a master facility plan as well. And obviously the school district has a lot of land that they could put, I mean, middle school is probably their biggest concern right now. They're putting a lot of Band-Aids on the middle school and it's not working. They really need to build a new building for the middle school. Or severely revamp the building that they currently have. So they've talked a lot about, well, do we wanna put roads on that land? And then that takes away where we could possibly put something.
Right.
And they don't have those plans yet, so they don't know what that looks like, so they're cautious.
But they have a ditch, they have a gas line, they have a gas road, they have, you know, we're basically have an easement, 140 feet of easement that really is, we're gonna have to figure out, it's a very complex street, I don't care what we do.
Yeah. Interesting, that makes sense then.
Any other questions on that one? Highway, and I would say is once we get CDOT's comfort level on, the plans, we'll probably be bringing some updates to you guys on where those plans are. As we move forward on the signal. The Highway 160 pedestrian crossing study. So if anybody saw, there were cameras out there, apparently, I was on vacation last week, and apparently this was like the talk of the town. I didn't know, I didn't find out until today. But, SCH was out there for a couple days with cameras last week, doing some counts for us while school's in session still. And we're hoping to see our needs assessment by the end of May. And so, there's a couple steps to this one. We received grant funding from the state, 30,000, and we had a 30,000 match, to do a study and some preliminary engineering for a potential crossing, because we have a lot of pedestrians that like to use the pawn shop to the grocery store, crossing. And so this initial, phase is a study to see if there's a warrant. Is there a warrant for some type of safe crossing there? There's some topography there, so my dream is, can we do an underpass? But possibly just at grade. CDOT's a little concerned with the current location at the intersection, so it might have to be pushed one way or the other, so that the vehicles are paying attention to the pedestrians and not trying to make turn movements. So we'll see how that plays out. But the first step is there a warrant? Is there enough traffic? Is there enough pedestrian crossings for us to actually do something like this? And so that we're hoping to see at least a preliminary, study at the end of May for that.
So who brought this project to you? CDOT?
No, we asked to
You
see
did,
that,
okay.
just because, I mean, if you go out there, there's a trail,
Yeah.
and there's kids.
Kids that are doing
No, I
And
see
kids are
that,
running
yeah.
across the highway.
Bicycles, everything else. Today, there was a kid, 10, 11, that was crossing on a bicycle.
I know there's a lot there, I just didn't know.
Well, the problem is a lot of our new development is in this area, it's not where the signal's at.
Right.
Now, the new signal might help a little bit, but people are gonna go where they wanna cross.
Yes.
And so even if we move it to the east or west a little bit, I was talking to our engineers today, we had a meeting about it. I'm like, we can't get too far off course, cause then they're not gonna use it.
Yeah.
They're gonna keep going where they're going. So we need to look at, is there a way we can make this safer? And that's really what we're gonna be doing. I will say, I'm gonna reach out to the neighbors now, and let them know what's going on, and that we're doing this study, so if you guys might hear some people not happy about that, but really, they're using it now, we just wanna see if there's a way to make it safer.
question. In the current developments that are going on, is the building inspector only inspecting the buildings, or is that building inspector also checking the grading and, you know, the requirements that the developers were meant to meet?
So normally our engineers will help us with the grading. The building inspector, usually the site should be graded appropriately. There might be some final grading as part of the construction, and he'll go out and make sure that, mainly that it's not impacting the house, that's, you know, you should be draining to your property lines. That's what we do in Colorado. And then it's not negatively impacting a neighbor, so he will look at that. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what did not get done in the branch, with the way the water runs and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But I was just
Well, and
curious
here's
that
the other
somebody had
thing.
oversight.
This is why we did the public outreach on stormwater in 2022 after a storm, because people change it. Just because a developer comes in and grades it, and then the builder comes in and changes the grade, then the resident comes in and landscapes and puts in retaining walls and doesn't know anything about grading and drainage, and impacts a neighbor after the fact. And that's really hard for us to, that's why we say that's a civil issue.
Yeah.
If you've got two properties and they're changing things after the overlot grading, that becomes a civil issue, because we can't police all of that, everyone's landscaping and changes to grades and stuff. So, I mean, that's a hard one. Okay.
Any other questions for Nicole? Dustin, it looks like you're up next.
I'm back there. I am. I was gonna say, you guys want to talk about something a little more fun? Let's talk about soccer. I already kind of hit on this when we were talking about the special rec district, but soccer, the younger population, really is booming. We're gonna add another field on Monday to help alleviate it. Where the frustration lies is coaches. The coaches are volunteers, and usually they're the parent of a kid on the team. Tuesdays and Thursdays are wildly popular. I don't know if you guys have been down Mill Street on a Tuesday or Thursday evening.
We come to these meetings.
Every
Yeah.
parking spot is full up there with either baseball practice or soccer. So we're really trying to get creative with scheduling. I'm either the hero or the villain with the coaches, because I'm the hero if their time slot they wanted is open. I'm the villain if it's closed. So again, back to the master park plan, there is another multi-purpose field on that plan. That would be amazing to have, and we could really utilize that and really open up the schedules for the coaches more than anything. I'm looking ahead at the fall season. If it stays this way, it's going to be extra challenging, because we have flag football that's getting added to that as well. And we are the only flag football program in the area. There is Yoffle and Durango and things like that, but for as far as introducing kids to football, we're it. So we get a lot of kids actually from Durango, Ignacio area for that as well. Again, you're gonna hear a lot of this in my report out on Tuesday as well. But we've been getting real successful with making recreation more sustainable. I've gotten nothing but great feedback on the reusable jerseys. When we first started rolling out the program, I was like, ooh, I think I'm gonna get a lot of negative comment on that, because we're gonna have to add to the cost. But we've done a good job explaining that it's a one-time fee, unless you, of course, lose it or destroy it. So I think it's a great program. It was modeled off of other recreation programs. I can't take all the credit, but it's been great to roll that out. I think I did the math the other day. I'm about $600 away from that program paying for itself already, and it's not even a year old. So it's been wildly successful financially and on a parent level. Got a lot of great comments from parents on that. Yeah, they do. They're really sharp. I'm really happy with Half Price Tees. They've been great to work with. Facility rentals are really on fire. I think I counted it today. We have 17 rentals of Eagle Park in May. Yeah, so we're really busy taking phone calls. We took another 3 or 4 today, and a lot of it is the school districts are reaching out. Graduation, continuation. We've got a field day going in Joe Stevenson Park on the 20th for the 8th graders. There's going to be kickball tournaments, volleyball going on the soccer field, things like that. But we are recouping some revenue through the Eagle Park rentals as well. Little cautious about scheduling things in the gym, in the summer, in the heat in there. But I did okay a dance class going into there for the month of June. She's gonna be doing dance classes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every week in June. Thought it was kind of cool, something the community needs, something a little different that I hadn't heard since I've been in this position. So I did warn her, and she did. She took about a week or two to decide if she wanted to rent it because of the heat concerns, but she's gonna bring some fans in and she thinks it's suitable. So another thing offered through the community, we recoup a little bit of income on that, but again, it's more of a service to the community, so I'm excited to see that. Open gym pickleball going. We've been really maximizing our lease on that gym. The lease is up in July. I have one email in to the superintendent if they're going to continue, because I've heard 3 or 4 different stories about what's gonna happen to that property. So I'm interested to know, because we need to know, because we've got to start planning for basketball, volleyball, and the other sports we do in there. And I'd like to see the pickleball expand in the winter as well. So yep, I've got one email into Leon, and I'll probably end up sending another one next week. So any questions for me?
Okay. Parks and Trails.
Yeah, so, Mark Robinson is kind of providing his, memo. I think he's really struggling with the, skate park, that's out there right now. There are some dangerous corners of that skate park. You know, by the time we actually start on Joe Stevenson Park, if we ever got revenue to provide, that funding, is it worth actually looking at redoing the skate park now, and then possibly if we expand Joe Stevenson Park? He's concerned that it's becoming hazardous. It is used quite a bit, especially in the summertime. We do have lights down there. We have done better with security systems down there as well. Before it was dark, and then we did have some issues, but we have it has gotten better at the skate park. So I think he'd like to, you know, maybe not tonight, obviously you can't give us direction tonight, but at some point he would like to figure out, you know, what does the board want to do? It's kind of come to the point where he's almost to a point where you just take all the ramps away, but then you're going to have, what in my experience, you take the ramps away, they're going to be down on Mill Street, they're going to be on the sidewalk, they're going to, you know, they're going to be in other places using skating. I mean, they don't stop just because the ramps away. So
Is the skate park gonna stay right where it is?
it's gonna be transitioned a little bit,
Okay,
but not necessarily. You know, the thing is that I don't build it twice.
right, yeah.
If he decides to do some updating, I think it needs to be reconfigured to match our plan, and not built and then pulled back up, because you have concrete that's pretty expensive. You should be pulling it up and putting it where it should go, so.
I just didn't
Is
wanna throw
concrete
good money
expensive?
at bad.
Yeah, concrete is extremely expensive right now.
I did give you links, to, the plan and the cost. You'll see that we're not just talking about a couple $1 million. The Groundworks basically gave us an $18 million, project. So there's, and the sales tax, the goal of that was over 20 years. You know, GOCO, who is our funder, is looking for, kind of legacy projects versus playgrounds. They don't seem to want to fund playgrounds anymore. They've had a lot of executive director turnover, so their vision has changed a little bit. They couldn't wait to give us playground money before, now all of a sudden it's, no, we want a project that includes more than a playground.
And that kind of answers your question of the previous plan, we had 1,000 phases.
Yeah.
Because they were in small chunks, because that's what GOCO would give us.
Mhm.
Now GOCO wants big projects,
Uh,
and so less phases means we have a better chance of getting funding for these bigger projects.
So we can do like a phase and then
We
wait.
can change it, and we can break these into smaller phases if we want to, but as we're trying to start, if we start looking for GoCo funding, they're gonna wanna see a piece of these legacy bigger pieces.
Well, and I believe that in the notes was, the fact that there are maintenance or improvements that need to be made to like the road and, the potholes, addressing all of that. If we were to do that now, where does the money come from?
So we would have a street intersection, the master plan included basically out of town hall and basically go into Joe Stevenson Park. GoCo is not gonna pay for that.
Okay.
That would be a street project. And, every time I tell the addresses at West South Street or Southwest Street or whatever else, I've always said, why don't we created a road basically from this intersection to Buck Highway, can we just rename it?
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, if it's Ed Moreland Way or something that basically it's a little easier, because every time I do this, it's Southwest Street or West Street, when you use cardinal directions for streets, it gets a little confusing. So the actual, the actual funding, for the actual street and the intersection would probably have to come from your street fund, kind of a different project. Is that a priority? Well, I don't know. Those are all decisions you're gonna have to make.
I just didn't know if we were going to try to Band-Aid the current things that are kind of, I don't know, decrepit or depleted or however you want to say it, but.
If you're gonna invest in money in the
Right.
skate park, invest in it for its planned placement
Correct,
and
yeah.
project.
Mhm.
You may have to do some, but don't build it twice.
Right.
I don't know how many times I've seen CDOT build a road and then tear it back up.
Mhm.
Like, well, that was good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Next up is police department.
Oh, wait, hang on one second. The park capital improvement budget, that's a whole new discussion, right, about the park capital improvement budget? That's not part of the master park plan. Is that right? You're looking at me.
I don't know
like
what you're
strange.
talking about.
There, it's in the,
Is that in his report?
yes.
Yeah, he is, probably hoping that there's gonna be a capital improvement.
Okay.
Edward Parks.
I thought we were maybe missing
No,
those two.
they
things.
don't
Okay.
have one here. They don't have one.
Got it, okay. I will wait.
Any other questions? Police department.
The only project I'm really working on is after what occurred at the senior center last year with that vandalism where someone apparently threw asphalt chunks everywhere. I was asked to do a review of all of our town's facilities surveillance systems. They're grossly inadequate, so I've been working with Stone Security, who does our doors, and I'm quite familiar with their video system because I used it where I used to be. We redesigned, and we've asked them to put 360 interior and 360 exterior for liability reasons, deterrence, and risk management to help protect the city from any lawsuits or anything like that. So the facilities that we're working on is Town Hall, the Senior Center, concessions, and concessions is gonna be an expandable project, so as we build Joe Stevenson, it'll also expand that security system as well within the concession area. That's where it's gonna be housed for that whole Joe Stevenson Park area. The park shop will have some, wastewater, water treatment, and public works. We've got their initial quotes in on how to do it. I just got them in, I'm getting ready to meet with Katie to see how we're gonna proceed if we are able to do this in the future. Do we wanna do it in certain phases? Or do we do it all at once? Or which buildings really do we need right away? So, looking at this building here, I've looked at this video surveillance, it's on a Cat 5 system, which is the old 1980s cabling. It's inadequate, the cameras are bad, there's no infrared, there's no night vision, there's no nothing that protects this. What we did in here, these are outdated cameras. These will all be infrared, and they will be updated HD cameras that will be able to capture everything that's going on inside the building where the public is allowed. And then on the exterior, it'll be also infrared HD cameras that capture all the way around the facility. So that way we can cover if anybody slips on the sidewalk or claims they slipped on the sidewalk, or if they claim to slip in here, we'll have all of that covered. And then we get out to the parks or in the concession area, we're gonna have to run a relay because there is no mechanism out there for a server. And so that'll have to be a relay that bounces over to the park shop, where the reason why the park shop needs stuff, they've been vandalized, they've been broken into, and they've had stuff stolen over the years. And so I worked with Mark to design it around his building as well. And then I met, and since the senior center was the kickoff of all this, their whole entire system is gonna be removed and replaced. The whole perimeter and parking lot will be covered by video surveillance. And that way, if anything happens outside, we're gonna be able to better investigate it. This is just it's for deterrence, and when need be, it'll help us solve when there's issues going on. And like I said, with the park, it'll be expandable. So as Joe Stevenson's building, it's gonna be part of the plan to put the surveillance cameras up in the proper areas for risk management and for liability reasons for us. And then we do public works,